If you are constantly giving advice as a coach, you're probably not coach. You might be mentoring, teaching, or maybe accidentally giving a therapy. In this video today, I'm going to break down the differences between the coaching, mentoring, teaching, training. So that's the way when you act as a coach or your role as a coach, you know exactly what to do, because you don't want to be a therapist for your employee or for your team member. You're coaching, maybe you are a coach for a sport. You want to be a coach, you don't want to be a mentor or a therapist, because by mistake, if you get to that track, that's not going to help them. Because as a coach, you help them grow. And let's check out what we should do or coach our people exactly the way they need to be coached. Another reason why this is so important for us to know as a coach what to do, because if we don't do the right stuff, then our coaching clients or our team members, they become dependent on the coach. On that, you want them to grow their leadership skill, you want them to grow their skill, you want to be resourceful, and that's the job of a coach, to guide them, not to for them to be dependent on you. Confidence, you want to help them grow their brain and the thinking power, not you be the brain for them. And that's the job of a coach. Talk about the differences between the coaching and the therapy. So the therapy focuses on in the past. The job for a therapist is to bring somebody up from something happened in the past, maybe a trauma, maybe some challenges they had in their childhood, or maybe they went through and they had an accident, whatever it is, some kind of trauma they had, their life is stuck. So the therapist helped them to bring to the present. So basically, the therapy is from the past to the present. On the other hand, coaching is helping someone to build their future, to create what they want to do. So often, the question as a coach to ask, how do you see to design your life? How do you see where you want to be, what you want to create for your future? And that's the way it makes a difference between the coaching and the therapy. Therapy is past to present, and then coaching is present to the future. In one line, therapy helps you survive the past, and coaching helps you design the future. And remember, coaching can never be replaced by therapy, because it's two different things. A coach job is to guide them for the future, and same way a coach should not be a therapist, because that's not solve the purpose. Now let's dig through the differences between the coaching and the mentoring. So the mentoring is like someone already did it in the past, they done it, what they're doing. I know where you're going, I did those mistakes, I did those wins, I got those wins, so I'm going to guide you because I know the place where you're going. And that is mentoring. Mentoring many times can be very directive, because the mentor went there before. Mentoring can be advice based, and it's like a transferring my past knowledge to get to the point where you want to be. Let me guide you to get there. So that is mentoring. So a mentor for similar business can only mentor someone from the similar business or similar sport. But on the other side, coach, it doesn't have to be exact business, because coach guides someone to get to the point they want to be. That being said, coaching is not directive. Coaching helps like the answer, so it's more like a discovery. I'm asking you a question as a coach, and I help you to get your own answer. It's more like asking question, guiding, and help you discover yourself, so you find your own answer. And that's coaching. And that is the difference between the mentoring and the coaching. In a short line, mentor will give the advice, hey, I did that, I failed on that, don't do that, do this. Coaching is, what do you think about doing this? What do you think about doing that? And that's the way you help that person to discover themselves and come up with their own. Now, on this part, let's talk about teaching, training versus coaching. Now, teaching is transferring the knowledge, because a teacher know the knowledge, read the book, is all knowledge based, nothing practical. But the teacher is transferring that knowledge to the student, and the focus is understanding the concept. It can be in any subject, even in business also. Here is the concept, this is the one, someone did it, I know about it, and here is the concept, I want you to understand. So that is teaching. On the other hand, training is more focused on the practice because it's a skill based. So when someone is a trainer, what they do, they use their skill, train the person, practice, and to help them get to their point. It is totally different than the coaching. A trainer will be side by side practicing, and is totally on the skill in the sports or even in the business, because someone is for AI technology or some kind of system, so they already did that, they're expert on that. Now they're training you how to get through the point A to point B easily, and working with you, having you practice that so you can achieve those efficiently. So on the same thing, what coaching does, coaching is help you explore the thing. Coaching helps you make that decision. So coaching helps you to be your own leader, make your own decision, giving you the knowledge, is guiding you to make your own decision, the right decision to get to the point where you want to go. I'm giving an example. For example, like your struggle in delegating stuff, okay? Because we know that delegation, helps you grow. So more you delegate, so more your business grow. Now, in a teaching, it will be like, okay, here is the process for delegation, and this is the way you delegate your stuff. Okay. Now on the training side, let's practice the delegation. So that is more like a practice type. Let me ask you, what stops you from delegating? And that's what, is more like a discovery. Then the coaching client think like, okay, what stops me? Helping them getting their answer. That's coaching. Now, here where most coaches get it wrong. They become the resource rather become the resourceful. So here are some biggest coaching mistakes. Number one, being the smartest person in the room. How they do that, being the most smart, that's the biggest mistake, huge mistake. So number one thing, giving them the solution right there. How to fix it, let them know. Or if there is a silence, after the question, break the silence and give the answer. That's a mistake on the coaching, because if there is a pause, you got to wait until the coaching client come up with the answer. That pause is very important, not to break that silence. Also, being a coach, if a coach feel very valuable solving the problem, that's a huge mistake, because the coach's job is not to solve the problem. The truth is, an advice is a short-term relief, but on the other hand, a self-discovery technique, self-discovery, asking questions, is a long-term transformation for the coaching client. And that's what asking question, make that call is a self-discovery call with the coaching client, or the phone call, or a Zoom call. And that's what brings the long-term transformation. Because once we give an advice, what happens, the client comes back next time, ask for another advice or the same advice, maybe making the same mistakes again and again and again, because they are not understanding the basic. So as a coach, never give an advice. Rather, when the client brings a challenge, ask question on that. Have the client discover themselves, self-discover themselves, and then bring up their own solution. Now, let's talk about how to become a better coach. The way we can become a better coach is asking a better question. What is a better question? Is open-ended question, and you give them the control to do the answer. And as a coach, what we do, just guide them through. Now, questioning this like, did you work hard enough? Or did you trust yourself enough when you took that action, is the wrong question. The right question will be open-ended question. For example, what do you think you can do to reach to your highest potential or bring the best of you on this particular scenario? And that's the way it giving them the the open-minded opportunity to think and come up with a solution, because the goal is to teach them how to think. Goal is to make them free to think and come up with their own answer. And that's the way we can become a better. Secondly, we have to respect the pause, the silence. We cannot break the silence. So because the silence means your coaching client or your employee or your the person you're coaching to, your team member, they're thinking on that. So you have to keep that pressure on, having that silence. Do not break the silence. Give the answer. Even though you as a mentor, as a coach, you know the answer, just hold on. Respect the silence. Have them break the silence and come up with, maybe they can ask you a question like, hey, I cannot think more than that, and they can break the silence, but then you have to throw another question, so to guide them back on the track of thinking. And that's the way a better coach asks a better question. Another thing also we can help as a coach is we have to separate the fact from the story, because the stories are going in the head. The story comes from somebody else's success, somebody else's failure, or maybe something happened in the past and then the assumption. So what we have to do is, as a coach, is what can we do to separate the fact from the story? Let the story go out the door. The facts. For example, asking a question in the same scenario, the result you're looking for, you did at your past, or like a fact, like somebody did that. So what did you do that time? Asking that question. So you bringing them back to the fact, or maybe showing a result somebody else is doing on the same marketplace, with the same product, with the same services, and tell them, okay, what do you think this company, this person is doing to achieve the result? What can you do from your position? So again, the fact, the reality. So help the coaching client, help the team member, help the employee to think on their ground with the practicality, not the story. Because, oh, I couldn't do that after 2 try last time, so I cannot do anymore. But hey, there is a possibility you can get on the 3rd try or 5th try. But the way it is, have them believe on a fact and then go from there. So we have to separate the story and the fact. And secondly, we have to shift the answer and then give them the ownership. How we do that? The answer is like, okay, looking at all the scenario, here is what I would do. That's an answer I'm giving. That, okay, I would do this. But rather you tell them, looking at all the fact, looking at all the discussion we did right now, where do you see yourself? What's your position? And then from that position, how can you step forward? So you're giving them the authority to think, giving them the ownership. And that's the way they take the ownership, and they think, what, I'm in stage this, and I can go next step like this. So you give them the ownership as a coach. What decision are you avoiding? Give them thinking power. What's pushing me back to avoid that? 3 things we can help them during that discussion: clarity, knowledge, and experience. An employee or a coaching client, they don't have experience enough. So whenever we're having the discussion, in the middle, to switch the mode, we can always pump in a little bit of experience. Like, in my experience, from another coaching client in my life, I see this. Okay, the knowledge, maybe they are missing that little gap, they don't have the knowledge of that, so you just fill that up, so to improve their thinking. And the clarity, if you see that when they are thinking and they're giving all the answers and there's no clarity, you can help them to make 1, 2, 3 clear, not to go 10 different directions. And that's the way clarity, knowledge, and experience we can punch in during the discussion a little bit to help them improve the thinking. And that's the way a coach can guide a coaching client to think an improved way, a better way. Now, how can, as a coach, I can be resourceful but not a resource? One thing we can always do, we can always share the framework, not the solution. Framework is when you are sitting with a client, asking question, okay, what's your framework? What will be like a 3 or 4 or 5 different stages you can go, you can control the conversation. That's a framework. So as a coach, I can give the framework. I can say, framework number one, we're going to do this. Number two, we're going to do this. Number three, we're going to do this, but not in details. And then you ask them the question. So with this framework, what are you going to do? That's the way we just give them the framework, not the exact solution, exact way to deal with that conversation with the client. But giving a framework, yeah, is good because you're guiding them to a clear way. And secondly, we can offer tools, because there are many tools out there that can make their life easy. We can say, okay, did you check this tool, or this productivity tool, or maybe this YouTube channel where you can get this information, but not to be a resource. So you showing them some resources so they can go to that particular YouTube channel and learn from that, or particular website and learn from that. So that's the way we can guide them the best as a coach. So one of the things we always talk about in a coaching, so this is the relationship between me as a coach and the coaching client. Like we say, coaching client, you don't need to like me, but you have to respect me. What does that mean? As a coach, and coaching client, we are not friend here, because if a coaching call go to a friendly approach, that's not going nowhere. Yeah, there are way, like, I like my coach, but the thing is, I respect. I will not take advantage of, he or she is a very nice person. So that's number one thing. We have to separate that emotion. Coaching client is going to sometimes bring the emotional challenges, and that is part of it, because as a coach we have to help them, guide to that, but not to give again the direct advice. Guide them, for them to revolve themselves, them to discover themselves and come up with the answer. Second thing is importance. Over here as a coach, even though I have a lot of experience, you have a lot of experience, we cannot be like, okay, I am the important. No, it's not that as a coach. Oh, and number three is very important, the ego, because sometimes when we get experience and we are working for the same field for a longer time, we may build up some ego, because, okay, I know the best because I'm working in this field for so long. We have to take the ego away. We cannot be egoistic. Same thing with the coaching client. We need to make sure that there is no ego here. Over here, the not being right is doing right for that particular situation. Ego has to be out. So here is in one line: therapy heals, mentoring advises, teaching informs, training drills, and coaching transforms. Best coaches don't create followers. The best coaches create more leaders, and that's the magic of coaching. Now, team up leaders around you. You want to be better in leadership. If you like this kind of content, please comment coach below or leader below, and subscribe to this channel. I'm going to bring more coaching or team building, leadership related content just for you in this channel. Thanks for watching, and always all the best.